Hi everybody. Happy rainy day Friday yoga, at least here where I am. And thought that we'd go virtually propless today. I've been using the chair all week to show some interesting things and ways to integrate the hips and shoulders using a chair. But Fridays typically have been a flow day and one where we try to dispense with most of the props. The only one you'll need is a rolled towel. And that, I think, is always a good thing to have around, whether to sit on as you start or to use for the spine, to massage out the spine. So we'll do a little bit of that work, but then I really want to stand up and breathe and move a little bit fluidly, although not too rapidly, so that we can keep our attention on the breath and on how the body is receiving the breath. So go ahead and come to Sukhasana, seated, and get comfortable. If you need to take your towel roll and sit on it, or I've shown in the past the method of binding or supporting the knees. They tend not to go down. Just to lift your cross legs and take your towel roll right up against the shins, make it into a shoehorn, pulling the ends toward your and over your ankles, and then you're set. Make sure your sit bones are walked far enough back that your sacrum and lumbar have a gentle arch away from you. And let's go ahead and begin to inhale and exhale 20 times. And I'll do the first one with you. Inhaling, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale up the back ribs. Exhale up in the mouth. Inhale, fill the lungs. Exhale, release the throat. Inhale, expanding the diaphragm. Exhale, releasing the diaphragm. And continue. So as you bring the breath in at your own pace, begin to sense more deeply the interior space being created and dispersed. Keep going. Relaxing everything except the muscles needed to sit upright and the movement of the diaphragm. One more inhale and exhale, release. Pause. Place a hand on the belly and soften any tension in the solar plexus. Tongue and jaw. And we're pausing here in a comfortable way. So if there's any sense of urgency, anxiety, to take the inhale, you work with that. Over time, you can pause for quite a while. But when you need to inhale, you do. And you hold the top of the inhale for about 10 seconds. And relax the tongue, the back of the neck, the jaw. And then you release. You can forward fold or just place the hands forward. Some of you can take the arms further forward or put the forearms on top of the chair and just take a few breaths in a forward fold. Others can make two fists and place the forehead right on top of the fist. As you breathe in forward fold a few rounds before we start the next series of 20 breaths, you can feel or imagine the back ribs exposed to the sky and allowing them to open. Also, the dropping of the head and the brain sends a signal to relax, release out of the frontal brain, drop all the stress out of the brain, particularly the eyes are not being used. So I totally encourage you to listen more to me unless you need to look. And then you come up. And we go again. Inhale, fill. Exhale, release. Fill. And release. Just using that umbrella-like opening of the diaphragm to flare open the back ribs all the way from the bottom to the top. Maintaining your sense of connection to the ground through your sitting bones. And remembering that the diaphragm has two, at least, actions. Expansion on the inhale, as well as descent downward like a trampoline. Massaging your organs, your intestines, as you inhale and plugging you into pelvic floor mula bandha. Five more. Even though I'm making a dragon-like sound with my exhales for you, ideally you want to soften that. And so you are releasing and relaxing the tongue, the jaw, the throat. And it's not a vocal performance. You can even close the mouth and internalize the sound of Ujjayi Pranayama inside the skull. Two more breaths. On the next exhale, release. Again, soften around the belly, kidneys, the organs. And that softening, that relaxation down in the solar plexus and below will send a signal up high so that the palate and the tongue will also relax. You can pause as long as you like, and you're studying, if you will, the pause, the sensations within the pause. And the mind's anticipation of breath. And so you're working with that and not trying to wrestle with it, but just to invite the mind and the body to pause. Whatever that may mean for you. When you need to inhale, you do. You cap that off and feel a volume in the heart center, spreading out through the shoulders, the upper arm bones. And then exhale, release. Again, you can fold forward, place your forearms on a chair and your head on your forearms. Some of you can go all the way down to your double fists or yoga block. And with the forehead on a surface, it gives you direct tactile sensation into this chakra point, if you will. And also the ever-present tension or attentiveness of the eyes to want to seek information or to imagine information. Especially if you're an artistic type, you're coming up with all sorts of imagery in your head. And that's fine, but even if that occurs, you want to just step away and watch. Watch the show without getting caught up in the action. Coming up, one last time, inhale, and exhale. If you can slow it down and deepen it, as you develop the diaphragm, the lungs. Most people need to go for a run or exercise vigorously to force the diaphragm to draw in more air. But if you can do this without moving the other parts of your body, you're honing your pranayama. And it's not happening willy-nilly. Having said that, after you take your first 10 or so breaths, see if you can now let the breath and the diaphragm, like an ocean wave, come in, go out, a little more by themselves. So just like I mentioned with the imagery in the brain or the thoughts that come in and out of the brain, let the breath come in, let the diaphragm work, and watch it, dance with it. And you are both the lead and following partner in this dance. Sometimes leading, sometimes following. One more inhale, exhale, release. Now your body settles into your center line. Head, shoulders, tongue relax. Have a sense of floating. Without rigidity. So checking in with the hips, low back. You can stay longer in your moment of cessation, breath, if you've been practicing. But don't struggle. When the breath needs to come in, it does. It inhales. And then you just pause 10 seconds or so at the top of the inhalation. Exhale, release, forward fold. Okay, so let's come to hands and knees, and I'm going to double up our mat, pulling the front edge back to take it in half so we have a little more pad for the knees. And we used to do this exercise, which I call Cinderella, in the past quite a bit. So you take your towel roll, hopefully you have a floor that's slidey, slippery. If it's a carpet, then you could maybe just use your hands without the towel roll. And as you inhale, you're going to just slide that towel roll forward. And as you exhale, you're going to draw that towel roll back. Could be just a micro movement. And the knees are hip width or wider. Could be as you use your breath to inhale, extend. Some of you can get the head all the way down toward the floor. Now maybe you need to lift the hips a little bit to make this happen. And then sit the hips back down. Lift the hips, slide the arms. And coming back. The next time we go forward, you place the head down and breathe. As you do, have a slight tone in Mula Bandha. So a little slight tone as you breathe 5 or 6 breaths in the pelvic floor, as if the pelvic core is getting ready to pull you back. And then sinking back on the exhale. Let's go to the diagonal to the left, inhale. Again, you can lift the hips up and breathe here. Feeling that right lung and rib cage and right through the arm. Get a little stretch through the breath, through the expansion of breath. Exhale, sit back down where you started. Inhale, go slightly to the diagonal to the right, dropping the head if you can, lifting the hips. Take 5 or 6 breaths into your left lung, your left rib cage opening like an accordion. Your left hip dropping and left shoulder moving away from the spine and from the hip. And try to use your expansive breath to get the stretch rather than to use your arm and leg. And then exhale, sit back. Okay? And then let's go ahead and unfold our folded yoga mats. And we're going to take the towel roll behind us now. And we'll sit in toes pose just briefly. Some of you are not big fans with the toes tucked under Virasana, just to stretch the plantar fascia, placing the hands comfortably down on the legs. And the towel roll is snugged just up to the feet. And let's go ahead and place our hands down now, lift our chest, inhale, and then exhale, downward dog, stomping the arches of the feet, the towel roll right underneath it. Bend your knees quite a bit, and lengthen the rib cage and the arms forward. And then you can exhale, begin to straighten one leg. Inhale, bend the knees, exhale, straighten the other leg.
And then you're going to walk very slowly the hands back to the feet until you're in forward fold. And bend your knees quite a bit. Hold your opposite elbows. You're on your high heels, so to speak, of your towel roll. And just holding your opposite elbows, allow your spine to stretch through gravity. Finally, releasing the hands down, bending the knees, and coming up with a rounded spine to stand. Let's take our towel rolls and toss them aside. Then we'll stand at the front of the mat and flow a little bit. So some folks are circulating in and out of class these days for the summer vacations and so forth. So we haven't done this in a while using the hoop of the arms. So we're going to do this Utkatasana entry of bending the knees are touching, bringing the pinky fingers to the belly. Inhale, creating a big circle hoop with the arms. And then exhale, palms to heart, legs straight. Repeat, sink down, hands to the Uddiyana Bandha area. Circle, maybe a little higher with the arms. And exhale, bring it back to the heart center. Relaxing the throat, the tongue, and the jaw. And just start to flow with the breath, like you're capturing a big helium balloon in your arms. Your lungs are full. Exhale. We consolidate the exhale right in this throat center. Base camp. You can go as low as you want. You can begin to reach the arms as high as you want. But let the arms be supported by the buoyancy of the inhalation. The knees touching and mildly clamping together as you continue to flow in this exercise, which is like a Tai Chi yoga hybrid. The knees clamping together gives you access to the pelvic floor attenuation. If you have a shoulder injury, neck injury, you would stay with the hands and the arms not too high. Pause and release the arms down. And then let's step our left foot back and try this in Warrior One. Not a huge stance. As you inhale, go ahead this time and straighten both legs. Bring the hands to the belly. And then come forward. Exhale. Palms to heart. Bring them down. Inhale. Sink. Reach. Exhale. And just flow. Simple exercise. The next time you come forward with your inhale, stay and breathe. Your gaze is either forward or slightly elevated. One more inhale, exhale, palms to heart, and the left foot joins the right foot. Drop the arms, step your right foot back. Easy warm up. Hands come to the waist, inhale, circle, hold like a big ball or balloon, and sink down. Exhale, straighten the front leg. Inhale, sink and reach. Exhale, palms to heart. And just flow. The slower and deeper you can go, the better able you are to consolidate and fill the form of the posture. Then we stay on the next inhalation. The breath is not only supporting the arms, but trying to reach down through the back leg as if it too were filled with prana, breath. One more inhale, exhale, palm to heart, and step the feet together. And then we'll take the left foot back again and pivot to warrior two. Let's take the hands to the waist. Inhale, straighten the front leg. Circle. And exhale, hold the ball. Inhale, straighten front leg. Circle the scapula broadly out. Hold. Inhale, straighten. Exhale, sink. Start to get into the slower rhythm we had at the beginning of class. You might be, if you're a fast mover, ready to race out of the gate. But instead, with the slowness of the breath and the movement, see if you can investigate all the pieces of the body, and then hold the ball, breathe. Feel how the scapula are broadened across the back. Now, if we want to take warrior two, we just open our wings and breathe. Reverse warrior, inhale, and exhale, side angle, placing the right forearm on the front upper leg, and then allow the left arm to reach. In the past, I've done the crawl stroke with the left arm, flowing down and around. Inhale, coming in toward the belly, and windmilling up and over. If that's something that works for you, go for it. Otherwise, a static hold with the breath circulating is also quite wonderful. For those with neck issues, if you tuck your chin to your chest, take your left hand to the back of the skull, point the left elbow to the sky, and gently press and lengthen the back of the skull into your left hand as you look up. You'll be able to work open the cervical spine and mildly stretch and lengthen it. Reach back into the sky, come all the way up. Set up for triangle pose. Inhale, the arms come up. Exhale, pivoting. Right hand on the ground or the shin. And you can bring your left hand to your hip. Left hip and look down if that's preferable for you. Again, those with neck issues, I know there's a few in the group, so I'll cover this today. You're going to stay looking down at the ground. And absolutely, you can bend the front knee. And your left hand on your hip now reaches away from you at shoulder height, and you spread the fingers. You allow the left side of the neck to gently stretch and drop toward the floor. It's going to lengthen the cervical vertebra that we just strengthened. You had the hand behind the head. Okay, and then let's see if you can place the fingertips on the ground, bend the front knee, and lower your back knee, your left knee all the way down to the ground. If you want to pat it, you can double up the left side of your mat. Place your hands both on the right knee. Inhale, and exhale, sink. Repeat, coming back into your breath. Allowing your breath to guide the body back and forth gently. And then we'll take a twist. So we did this a couple days ago on the chair, where we had a chair in front of us. We were able to put the left forearm down on the chair. And now we're just hooking the left fingers on the outside of the right knee and just rotating on the diagonal to the right. You can pull your left fingers against the right knee and let the right knee press in contrast in the opposite direction. And just take 5 or so breaths to rise and fall and explore the form. Your right hand, if you can, is placed on the outer right hip. And you can push that right hip into your right palm. That will give you a wonderful sense of resetting the sacrum. Again, the right palm, the heel of the palm in the back of the right hip. The right hip pushes into that palm. And release. Let's take the hands or fingertips down to either side of the front foot, lift the chest. And here, draw the tailbone up through the body. Curl it up. Lift the heart. Now we're going to curl our back toes under, straighten our front leg, and Parsvottanasana. We fold over the front leg. You can stay in a flat back. Your fingertips on the floor. Or you can begin to descend, breath after breath. From here, most of you will just hop or step your back foot to your front foot for forward fold. But a couple of you can walk your hands forward, come to a standing L, lifting your left leg behind you, creating a flat back. And then, when you're ready, the left foot and the right foot are joined, and you take your Uttanasana forward fold. And the knees come up through chair. And then exhale, standing palms to heart. So let's do the opposite side. I'm just going to switch my perspective for you. And we'll step our right foot back, warrior two, pivoting. Bring the hands to the waist. Inhale, straighten both legs. Exhale, capture the prana around the heart center, like you're scooping, gathering. Inhale. And moving slowly, feeling the attenuation of the legs, the hips, the arms. And then you're going to stay. Feel the shoulder blades being broadened away from one another, the chest broadened right up to the armpits. And then you just unfurl your arms straight out. This is a subtlety of the shoulder blade carriage. And then reverse warrior inhale, side angle exhale. You can stay here or begin to go for a crawl stroke. Swimmers, the right arm is going to drop down, circle back, and forward. Inhale, reaching back, and exhale. You're articulating the shoulder, the neck. Then when you stay, if you have any sort of shoulder and neck issues, tuck your chin to your chest, take the right palm to the back of the skull, and then start to lift that right elbow up to the sky. Gently press the back of the head into that right hand. A little extension of the cervical spine. Inhale, come up, set up for triangle pose. The arms come out like wings. The inner legs like lifting up to Mula Bandha. And exhale, dive in. And place your left hand on your shin, right hand on your hip. You have the neck issue. Now I'm going to show you how to stretch it. You look down and you reach back. Right hand from your hip behind you. Spread your fingers like webbing and just feel that nice stretch to the right side of the neck. You drop your head. And of course, regular triangle pose for those that would like it. I'm going to take the hands all the way down to the ground, lift the back heel, and drop the right knee down. You can have the right side of your mat if you've got knees that are sensitive. And now both hands to the left knee, inhale, and exhale, sink. Continue to do that. I'm just going to keep the very same pose, posture, but rotate toward you to show you this movement, this nice adjustment. So now as we take a twist, the right hand across the left knee, we create a little bit of counter pressure. Slide our left hand to our left hip. And then we rotate just slightly to the left. So what's going on here? This is where yogis get into trouble with the low back. And there's all sorts of cues. The essence of it is that the pelvis and the sacrum don't really want to be involved in this rotation of the mid-back. But if you're torquing with your upper body, your hand on your knee solely, this will happen. This left hip becomes uprooted and weak, and things get askew. So here's what you do. Your left palm right into your medial glute, right behind that bony divot. I'm going to push my left hip into my pressing palm, like a vice. And then I'm safe. And I'm actually getting counter torque. You can fix your SI joints this way, just by pushing the hip into the hand into the hip, and just relax into it, and release. Okay, take the hands to the floor now, and unfurl the mat, tuck the right toes under, and begin to straighten that left leg. Come into a flat back Parsvottanasana. Inhale, lift. Exhale, begin to gently fold. Just even if you drop the top of your head forward and let the neck stretch and the spine stretch, you don't have to touch your forehead to your shin. Much better to create a straight line of strength and have integrity. Remembering what I said moments ago about that left hip, right? And then we either step the right foot to the left or walk the hands forward and take a L balance, standing split. And then the feet come together, forward fold, shake it loose. Feet together, knees bend, chair pose, in honor of our earlier in the week chairs, and exhale, release. So I want to just cover that torque adjustment. And we're going to do it in Warrior 2 now. I know I promised fluidity, but you've had enough flow. We got to get back to structure. So we're going to take a Warrior 2 of the left foot back. And we're going to take the hands and press them with straight arms down into our thighs. Okay? Separate the feet to your happiness. And then we're going to push our pelvis into our pushing palms. Now, as you do this, this is work. It's going to sure stretch the inner legs a little and strengthen the outer hips. You can probably feel your glutes engage a little. But more importantly, and I'm not going to use the words pelvic tilt, but pelvic press. And so I'm pushing my hips forward into my pressing palms. The pressing palms allow me to lift the chest and get nice strength through the upper spine, and the pressing the hips forward get me engagement in my pelvic core. So now that you found that, float the arms up, warrior two. Hopefully you feel like it's a piece of cake. Straighten the front leg. This time turn right toes parallel to left, Prasarita Padottanasana. And we'll take the hands to the belly, inhale, circle out, and exhale, sink down into goddess pose. And you can repeat, inhale, straighten the legs, circle the arms, exhale, hold the ball. One more, inhale, exhale. So this business I was prattling on about with the pelvic floor on Wednesday in the coffee press had some happy and some confused, as usual. Press now the backs of the hands into the inner thighs. Advanced pelvic floor press. Chest lifts like a seal, but instead of kicking your butt back, press the hips into the hands. Now reduce the pressure and just find the minimum of attenuation. You might need to close your eyes and feel the actions. So try to take these actions into forward fold as you kick the heels out and bring the hands to the floor. And see if you don't feel that the pelvis is in a much stronger position for you to forward fold. Walking the hands back if you wish, holding the ankles if you wish, or taking a wide reach with the arms like a wide-legged downward dog. But hopefully you still have not lost the pelvic core, which keeps your pelvis, your pelvic halves, left and right, well knitted together. And then breathe into it. Till we come to a flat back, inhale. Bend the knees again. And one hand to one hip, the other hand to the other hip. And come up. Let's turn back, pivot back to the right. Step the back foot in a little bit. And investigate twisting triangle. One of the hardest postures to do well, and most people have no business doing it, honestly, because it's a torque which is kindred to what we did earlier with our low lunge rotation. When we bent the front knee, we were down here and we did a rotation. And what did I tell you there is to take your right hand to your hip, which you can do now. If you're wobbly, left hand to the wall of the chair. And all I'm going to do, I can put both hands on my hips to start, but then I can take that right palm into the right glute and push. Push the hip into the right hand. You can micro bend the knees a little. Then the left arm comes up, inhale, and I keep pushing into that hand and hip. I can just reach forward like I'm going to shake someone's hand now and turn my gaze to the right. But push with the hip and the hand, and then inhale, come up and relax for a second. You can come back to warrior two. So if you're a beginner, Press right palm into right hip, hip into palm. This brings you into strength here. And all you're doing is the same thing. You can bend the front knee. If you're a little more advanced, you can keep that pressure. You can take it all the way to the floor. And possibly into twisting triangle. But I'm really pressing my right hip into my right hand. It's a lot of work. Those that are super advanced now look forward, bend the front knee, still have your right hand on your hip, lift the back leg for rotated half moon. And how's that right hip now? Eventually the right hand goes up. And then everyone, forward fold, left foot to right, release. Chair pose, inhale, and exhale. Now the left foot goes back, and I'll switch my stance. The right foot goes back, warrior two. And we take our palms, we push them into the mid-thigh to lift the chest and the shoulders rolling back. Exhale, press our hips forward and sink lower. And it's the constant interchange of the breath. Inhale the chest, the back ribs, the palms. Exhale the hips. Soften the throat. Just work to your ability. This creates a lot of tapas or work, but it's going to make your structure around your pelvis very strong so that when you come up to fly in warrior two, it feels like a piece of cake. Legs are super strong, and now we turn the feet parallel, left toes into right. Hands to waist, inhale, and sink down to goddess pose. Do a few. And then you hold. Now, the backs of the hands into the thighs, and the pelvis, the sacrum, pushing gently against that pressure. And breathe. Release. Kick the heels out, forward fold. And just notice, once again, if you've got a renewed sense of strength around the hips. If you don't, or you need more, you come to a flat back and imagine having your both palms on your outer hips, pushing your outer hips into those palms. Be careful, because it's a strong action, which may open the inner thighs and adductors quite a bit more than you're used to. Flat back, heels kick in, knees bend, hands to one, knee the other, and then coming up. And we're going to turn so that the left foot is pointing to the front. You're looking toward it. Set the feet to a width that's suitable for you. And we try twisting triangle. So what do? We take our left hand now, and we press it against our left hip. And again, this is the kiss of death for a lot of yogis, and this is why the dirty little secret is hip replacement in a lot of yoga students, because the glutes get weak, the hips are twisted and torqued, and we're going to fix that. So you can micro bend the front knee or bend it quite a bit, but you want to push your left hip into your left hand. And then your right arm reaches up, inhale, and you just go forward to your ability and rotate your chest. This is your twisting triangle. Now the tendency is you seek yoga grandeur and place the hand all the way to the floor, is that you completely checked out of the pelvis and especially the hip. So don't do that. Reach up and just keep pushing the hip into the hand into the hip into the hand. And then you see what's reasonable for you. Maybe use a chair again to go down. And some of you flat back and rotate the chest in the twisting triangle. You can micro bend the front knee, but I'm really working in this left hip. And then others, reaching the right hand forward, kicking the right leg up. Yeah, I push my left hand on my left hip. I just work here. If I have balance issues, I don't even rotate to the left. It's actually quite hard to do. And then feet together, forward fold. Shake the head, shoulders. Kick the toes out. Sit down in the squat, malasana. Give the low back a breath break. And then have a seat. So we can play with this same concept, which we have in the past, in a few seated postures to close off. And we'll take the Janu Shirshasana, left knee in. See if you can pull the left knee up toward you and out without using your hands. So take your hands behind you and just do this a few times. So you're not, again, weakening your muscles around your joints. Then clasping your left knee with your left fingers, right palm down outside the right hip, pushing into the ground. Lift the chest, inhale. Exhale, press the entire left hip down. And we're strengthening around those hips. If you want to take it further forward, you can. But again, as you go into a classic Janu Shirshasana forward fold, most people will lose the attenuation of this entire left hip, pressing it to the earth. And that's why having a hand on it is good. So maybe use your right hand reaching up and going forward. And here's your pose. Come up, we'll do one more in this direction, keeping the left knee bent. And you can use your towel if you want around that right foot. And collect the ends of the towel into your right hand. And we're going to keep this left hand on the left knee, keep pushing into the ground of the left hip. Now we're going to rotate to the left. You want to take the full pose, you reach back with the left arm. But again, the hips don't come with me. I'm pushing into the ground with that left hip. And release. Let's switch. See if you can do this without your hands. Left leg straightens, right leg bends. Right fingers on the right knee. And the left palm on the ground. And then I really bring the breath in on inhale and really push that right hip down, knee down. If you want to come forward, you can, but don't lose the strength in the hips. So again, to revisit the coffee press, some people were asking at the end of class, well, isn't Mula Bandha lifting up the pelvic floor? Yes.
But the contrasting, complementary piece of it is that there's down pressure of the limbs, either the feet to the floor, in this case the hip to the floor, even as Mula Bandha is moving in opposite counterpoint. And I'm going to show you what I mean in a second. But first, let's take a towel around that extended left leg. And grab both ends of the towel in the left hand, right hand to knee, push the right hip down, and start to rotate the chest. And just feel here how the pushing down of the hips into the ground isolates the rotation. You start to rotate and extend the right arm. Only in the top half of the body. And this is really, really important. I want to work on this next week in safe twists. And that this over-rotation of the pelvis in asymmetrical poses ruins many yoga careers. So can't emphasize it enough. So that's our work for next week. But let's finish with two more postures. Baddha Konasana, the Cobbler's pose. Now, not sure Lee is here, but she suggested or reminded me of a great suggestion in this pose for some of you. Some of your hips will benefit with a yoga block, or you just ball up your towel and make a little sandwich between the feet. And this casual name for this pose is the Cobbler's pose. And literally, they'd sit here and work on a shoe with shoe between their feet like that to hold it like a vice. But we're going to also take our hands and clamp them under our shins, lean back, lift up, and allow this action to coffee press the hips down and the knees down. But yes, yoga pilgrims, the Mula Bandha is lifting up. Pelvic floor is lifting up as they push the knees down. And they're working in contrast and complement. Perfect Baddha Konasana here. What need is there to fold forward and ruin an upright, strong pose? One more. Legs out. Upavishta. Hands under the knees. Again, just like we did earlier in Goddess, we pushed our hands into the inner legs. We're just going to slide the hands under and push forms back against the inner legs, lift the chest, and then how about pushing pelvis forward? Go easy. Those that need to show off can place their heads on the ground. But what's happened to my hips when I do that? Even if I just put the fingers forward, am I coffee pressing down with the heels and then pressing the hips forward? Completely different sensation than lazy legs and then release. Shavasana or any final poses, Baddha Konasana would be a good one. Supta Baddha, that is. To release the inner legs from the pressing of the hips forward into the hands. And just take a few breaths to relax. Shoulders, hips, throat, tongue, jaw. And then you can slide the legs long if you haven't already. The toes are turned out. And you can stay and soak in Shavasana to your heart's content. But I'll roll off to one side, come up seated. And close off the class for you with the palms of the heart. Namaste.